Differences between establishment dogma, electric universe, and stellar metamorphosis. Here is the diagram where I outline a few of the basic things that I've seen over time. And I don't mind if people correct it, but this is what I've seen firsthand, and these are the ideas that are genuinely held to be true from all three perspectives. Now, I say all three perspectives, I mean, I'm including myself, but I'm also trying to incorporate other people's ideas too. The fact that Daniel Archer wrote a paper overviewing dust disks that's incredibly important to do that. I'm inviting him to make more papers and to overview some more ideas that he might have in light of this new theory, as well as other people. If you want to write a paper up, go ahead. Nothing's stopping you, but it does help me considerably. As you'll see here, I'll go ahead and read off a few basics. I'll link this to the bottom of the page so people can look at it as well as I read it if they want. For star birth in the Dogma, they have stars gravitationally collapsing. So they have a big cloud that collapses on itself. Mind you, gas doesn't do that in outer space. Gas, if you try to pull it together, it'll rebound. You can't do that without a container. You can't squeeze a gas without a container. So Dogma's method for birthing stars fails from the very beginning. A cloud of material doesn't collapse gravitationally. And there needs to be a gravitating body already there, which begets the fact that it collapsed. It's a inconsistency. It's not logical at all. They're also reliant on the fusion model to explain how stars evolve, and that leads into another idea, is that they evolve in strange ways. They're very strange. They go through these different processes, and they keep the stars as always shining, which is very, very strange if you think about it. It's like they're looking at a campfire at a campsite, and they're like, well, the fire doesn't burn out and then gets covered by ember ashes. The fire just starts turning blue, and then it turns orange, and then it turns red, and then the fire explodes. It's very strange the way they do stellar evolution in Dogma. As well, they have planets formed by accretion without a gravitating body present to bring the material together. So they have something like the Earth, and it's 6 sextillion tons of rocks, minerals, oil, and water just clumping together in the vacuum of outer space without a gravitating body being present. How the hell do you make pebbles clump together? That's just a huge stretch of the imagination to make something as vast as the Earth from pebbles clumping together in outer space. I can't believe that they teach this to people in college. As well, not only do stars gravitationally collapse when they're born, they gravitationally collapse a second time as they evolve into exotic objects like black holes. And that's not good science, man. That's horrible. They should throw all that crap out. Anyways, the second one is the electric universe. Now, originally I had hope out for electric universe because I wanted to believe that somehow they had some really great ideas. And the truth is that only about, I'd say, 2 to 5% of what they're telling the public is really great stuff. But the other 95 to 98% can just be ignored. It's not good. It's not good to look at. And the really good idea the electric universe has that I enjoy thoroughly, and that I'm trying to make sense of myself, is that they have stars being born as powerful electromagnetic events. They have electromagnetism at the forefront of stellar birth, and that is extremely important. As well, they push the idea that electromagnetism has a much bigger role in astrophysics than it's given credit for. And that's incredibly important. That's the number one thing. That's the 2 to 5% that they have down pat, and they can just ride that out to the end of time and they'll be just fine. Unfortunately, though, it's like an iceberg. The tip of it is only good, but the rest of it, not so much. They have stars not evolving. That's really bad. Stars do evolve. They cool, shrink, and die. They have smaller objects being ejected from larger ones without mechanism. How does something like the Sun eject a Jupiter? How does that happen? How does a Jupiter-sized object eject a Venus? How does a Venus come out of a Jupiter like it's a fucking rocket? A big spherical rocket, fully differentiated. That's not good. They have gravitational collapse is not happening. Well, in honesty, gravity does cause things to move. It's you can take a rock and drop it on the ground. That's gravitational collapse. I mean, it's not large-scale gravitational collapse where the whole thing is crushing itself, but in the theory I'm developing, the star does gravitationally collapse as it cools, shrinks, and dies. That's what provides all the energy to make things happen, for the chemical reactions to happen, for the thermochemistry to happen, for the electrochemistry to happen, for the chemicals to overcome their activation energy so where they can combine with themselves in large scales, forming basic molecules such as water and rocks and minerals. They have accretion not happening. I agree with them with this, with planetary. They say planetary accretion is where rocks just clump together in outer space for no reason. That's good, but they just completely throw accretion out altogether. They throw the baby out with the bathwater. But in the theory I'm developing, the accretion does happen. It happens inside the star. So you have a big plasmatic object, and the accretion happens internally, and that's what forms the planet. And then, the thick atmosphere dissipates away over many billions of years of evolution. My listeners already understand that. And they have star systems, just like establishment dogma, as being composed of planets and stars. But they're not. They're all astrons. They're all the same thing. They're all just different stages of their own evolution. They're not the solar system isn't a singular thing. It's multiple things all together, all independent structures. I forgot the dogma up here. It says planets are byproducts of star birth. Dogma says that planets are just the leftover remains of a star being born, but they're not. A planet is the leftover remains of a star evolving. It's an evolved, highly evolved or dead, dying star. And last but not least, I have GTSM. And this is similar to Electric Universe. I have stars as being born as powerful electromagnetic activity. I have stars as evolving, unlike Electric Universe, so stars do evolve. But not in the exotic, strange ways that establishment has, where the star always shines and explodes and turns into a black hole and all that other crap. And GTSM stars are not fusion-powered. Sure, there might be a little bit of fusion happening, but it's not fusion-powered. I'm going with the 1900s version, which includes other things such as the electrochemistry of the star gravitationally collapsing slowly, and eventually it loses energy and it cools down. But obviously, the people who invented the star gravitationally collapsing, the sun only lasting for a couple million years, they didn't understand what was actually going to happen to the sun, what it was actually going to look like. It's going to become a gas giant. If they would have known that, and if they would have known that the gravitational collapse was going to happen a lot slower, and it was going to become a lot calmer, then the rate at which the star gravitationally collapsed would decrease significantly, thus increasing the age of the object. This is why the Earth is really old. It's been going through billions of years of evolution, and the gravitational collapse has died down significantly. Now we just have the lithosphere just crushing itself slowly, causing earthquakes. Powerful EM activity continues throughout the majority of the star's life until it actually completely dies. It involves electrochemistry, chemistry, thermochemistry, redox reactions, which are reduction and oxidation reactions, rocks and minerals. It says here, gravitational collapse is strong after the star is fully formed and is present all the way through the star's death. And a star system is composed of many stars at different stages of evolution. If you want to call them asteroids, that's fine. I'll know what you're talking about. Other people will know what you're talking about. And stars evolve in observed ways. The evolved ones are called planets, exoplanets. You don't need theoretical models to predict what's happening to stars as they evolve. You can observe them now. The Kepler Space Telescope and other space telescopes have been finding them. They're called exoplanets. And last but not least, this final paragraph here, I'll read it out to you. Hopefully the similarities and differences can be made in a more comprehensive manner, as all three approaches are quite different. The dogma has strange objects and logical inconsistencies, such as objects gravitationally collapsing absent gravitational fields. Electric universe has stars not evolving, and GTSM needs more observation to bring the theory into the mainstream, and there is no large monetary backing. I'm not receiving a dime for any of this. All three have serious issues, but only one of the approaches can be developed further with further observation. The other two cannot. It is up to the reader to choose wisely, or even invent their own theory that builds off either of the ones described above. Of course, I encourage people to develop their own ideas, because I don't have all the ideas, I don't have all the knowledge. I just have one simple understanding. If you have a greater idea, if you have something that sticks out to you, go ahead and talk about it. Write it in a Vixer paper. Discuss it with people. Don't hesitate. And if you need somebody to look at the idea and give you feedback that's not going to be an asshole, I'm your man. I'll help you out. All right, y'all. I think I made this talk long enough. Again, I'll link this to the bottom of the page.